my friends say, girl, you better take care.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad to bring you the news again. While you're at it, please remember to smash the like button and become a part of the family. We're asking today, in Minnesota, do you feel the Somalians are ripping off the system and the American taxpayer? Leave me an answer in the comments and just give me an idea of what you're thinking. Let me know where you're calling in from, what town, what city, what state. I'd like to know that too. We got a lot of listeners everywhere. A lot of you are listening, but try and sign up to the program. It doesn't take much. Just give it a little effort, and we'd appreciate it. We're trying to grow the family as large as possible, and it's only going to be done by you. Let's take a look at this, people, and you start making your decisions. All right. Like I said, let's see what your thoughts are of it. Here we go.
Let's see. Hey, I've been reading a lot, watching the news on these Somalis in Minnesota and around the area that are ripping the system off, faking autism. You know, I've got one of my dearest friends has autism, and he just gets it every day, doesn't get any help, goes to school, does his thing, has a job, takes care of his nana, and he's just a wonderful human being. To think that somebody is using that situation to rip off the system, to me, is unbelievable. We need to get a hold of these people that are doing this. We need to, within the law, of course, but we need to seize their assets. We need to mark them, not physically mark them, but know who they are so that they will never, ever be able to get back in our country again and deport their ass as fast as possible. Then we've got to, oddly enough, my buddy's texting me right now, my buddy with autism. And then what we need to do then is to root out who in our government allowed this to happen. That's the problem we have with the conservative movement. We get a hold of the person at the tip of the spear, and then we don't go down to the base. And that's where the problem is, the real problem, because they've allowed this to happen. They've been paid off, or they're so deep in whatever department it is that they are, there's some gunfire, that they are able to just move around to another area, and that needs to stop. Needs to stop. We need to stop it now. That's why a lot of people didn't like Elon Musk. He rooted this stuff out and pointed it out to us, and I'm afraid you're going to find out, you dig deep enough in some of these scams, that folks from both parties are getting fat off of it. That government needs to stop. Thank y'all for sending me here.
Okay. Like I said, I'm not trying to do all the talking, but what I do want is to get some information from you guys. This is not fraud. This is massive fraud on a level we've never seen before. And like he said, we hit the tip of the spear, we need to get down to the bottom. Because people, if we don't stop this, and Democrats do get back in there, your money is gone. Your taxes not going to be double, they're going to be triple. You won't be able to afford to live in the United States. Thanksgiving, $205 was nothing. Turkey, small ham, some stuffing, cranberry sauce. It's still short. So it's gonna be like a raw meal, $350. It's crazy. And it's not President Trump so much. When Biden was in there, we had ships upon ships upon ships that were turned away, that product wasn't paid for, product going bad. It takes time to dwindle down, but we're going to feel it. And with these, it ain't just Somalians, they're the biggest group of people in America, and robbing the biggest amount of money. We got Venezuelans, we got Spanish, we got Puerto Rican, India, Russia, Japanese. Need I go on? All getting a piece of the cake. And don't forget, I played a clip for y'all last week of the black families. 23, 24, 25, up to 64 bills on SNAP program. SNAP program. And a good, honest, blue-collar American overpaying on car insurance, overpaying on health care, overpaying on housing, overpaying on cell phones, overpaying even on road tax, tolls. These people, let me tell you something, people, you don't have to pay for a roof over your head. And you got subsidies coming in that somebody's pampering you and paying for everything. You have no problems. I can't read all of that. You have no problems. We just can't read it all in sometimes, how we go through things. A lot of times we have to realize that we Americans right now physically are slaves to Democrats and to the people that are over here. We're back to the old days. Democrats will force you to work for free. And they're doing that now. If Trump hadn't came in, the taxes would have doubled down. The insurance would have been $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And that's why Trump's not doing it. You see what they want to do? Old stupid CAG guy Hakeem and Schumer want to give not millions, billions of dollars to the insurance companies, and they already have billions. This is why you read things about the CEO getting a check, a bonus check for $1.5 million, or he's making $2.3 million a year. You're doing that. And then when your claim comes up to pay something, they got every law in the world where you can't be paid. We getting tired of it. I know I am. And I know people are listening to the podcasters everywhere that are telling you and displaying what's going on are sick and tired of it. Like I said, you're slaves. Let's take a look at this, people, and let it give you a rundown on Tim Walz The one who's talking about everybody and making jokes of people and stuff about how he's so great. Can't even run his own city. Coward. A big coward. Somalians got him going. And they've terrorized. The whole time they're doing it worse than Colorado. When the Venezuelans were there. Got him going. And why is it, people, that you can actually sit down, you don't need YouTube or nothing else to tell you. You had to work on Tennessee. You had to work on Chicago. They're working on New York, Minnesota. These are going to be cities you're going to be Xing out. And they're fighting to keep ICE out of there. That's sad. When you would take a summer vacation, get the old RV, take the family and visit state to state. 8, 9, 10 states. When you go to some of these, you may not come out of there. This is how our country has become. We're so worried about fighting for these people in every other country and letting them over here. They've been fighting for years. I don't give a hoot. They've been doing it for years, thousands of years. How you going to change that? People have a habit of recreating what they have started. Their grandparents did it, parents did it, kids before that did it, and the trend goes on. Getting Americans the same way. Because they come over here and infiltrate their doctrines on our kids, our people who are weak, our people who are frustrated with a few things. And before you know it, you got chaos. Same thing they had before. Trouble loves trouble. Misery loves company. And this is where we at. And this is why I tell my people, go out. Now, don't wait till the end of the summer. Don't wait till next year. Don't wait till the year following. Go out and find you a piece of property. Learn how to farm. If you don't want to do hogs, you don't want to do goats, do chicken. You got two things there. You got eggs, you got meat. And learn how to grow what you need. Heck, it's going to be healthier for you anyway. And you can save some democracy, as they talk about, in common sense. Get far away from these people as you can. Let's look at this, people.
From the City Journal, showing a massive fraud scheme in Minnesota. You have to hear about this. It involves false autism claims, the Somali community, and connections to a terror group. Let's explain over at The Wall. Now, it all revolves around autism and HSS program. That is Minnesota's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services. Now, this was created to help seniors, addicts, and others find housing, but the criteria to enter this program was incredibly loose and therefore easy to take advantage of. It's led to fraud and costs absolutely exploding. Just 5 years ago, in 2020, costs for this program were $2.6 million. 4 years later, by 2024, cost had been over $100 million, 104. Through the first 6 months of this year, costs are at $61 million, meaning if you double that over the entirety of the year, you're looking at $122 million. In 5 years, from $2 million to $122 million. Now why? 6 people are accused of defrauding HSS. They're members of the Somali community, but this just gets worse. If we take a look at Minnesota's federally funded autism program. Now, several people, and this is an example, a woman in the Somali community, are co-conspirators, and they're accused of recruiting kids for autism therapy. They brought in families, had them convinced to get their kids diagnosed as autistic. In fact, these families ultimately ended up having various social services bid for their children, competing with the number and size of check that they would get. It didn't matter if the kids had autism. And what happened? Autism claims to Medicaid surged. In 2018, $3 million. By 2023, listen here, from $3 million to $400 million. Autism providers jumped from 41 to 328 in 5 years. Now, City Journal reports that the Somali fraud rings send a lot of money back to Somalia. 40% of households in Somalia get remittances from abroad. That totals $1.7 billion. That's a new, stunning report from the City Journal showing a massive fraud scheme in Minnesota. You have to hear about this. It involves false autism claims, the Somali community, and connections to a terror group. Let's explain over at the wall. Now, it all revolves around Autism and HSS program. That is Minnesota's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services. Now, this was created to help seniors, addicts, and others find housing, but the criteria to enter this program was incredibly loose and therefore easy to take advantage of. It's led to fraud and costs absolutely exploding. Just 5 years ago, in 2020, costs for this program were $2.6 million. 4 years later, by 2024, cost had been over $100 million, 104. Through the first 6 months of this year, costs are at $61 million, meaning if you double that over the entirety of the year, you're looking at $122 million. In 5 years, from $2 million to $122 million. Now why? 6 people are accused of defrauding HSS. And they're members of the Somali community. But this just gets worse. If we take a look at Minnesota's federally funded autism program. Now, several people, and this is an example, a woman in the Somali community are co-conspirators, and they're accused of recruiting kids for autism therapy. They brought in families, had them convinced to get their kids diagnosed as autistic. In fact, these families ultimately ended up having various social services bid for their children, competing with the number and size of check that they would get. It didn't matter if the kids had autism. And what happened? Autism claims to Medicaid surged. In 2018, $3 million. By 2023, listen here, from $3 million to $400 million. Autism providers jumped from 41 to 328 in 5 years. Now, City Journal reports that the Somali fraud rings send a lot of money back to Somalia. 40% of households in Somalia get remittances from abroad. That totals $1.7 billion. That is more than the entire budget of the Somali government. Money being sent abroad, from abroad, back to Somalia. Where is that money going? Take a look at this. Most alarmingly, a lot of that money is funneled through money traders, and in the end, ends up in the hands of Al-Qaeda-linked Islamic terror group Al-Shabaab. So to bring this full circle, the Minnesota taxpayers are funneling money through fraudulent autism claims back to Somalia, where that money lands in the accounts of Al-Shabaab. A new, stunning report from the city.
I purposely played that twice for you, so you can get a sense of the money that's being taken out of America. And I agree with the congressman. We need to touch it in the tip and go down to the root and not physically mark these people, but mark them and get them the H out of this country, along with congressmen, along with governors like Tim, along with Omar that whole group, and as he said, they need to tax them and get the money back from them, which would be hard to do. And he was really hurt because his friend has autism. And he can't, you already said he can't get anything. He works every day, takes care of his nanny, he doesn't get anything. And he has it legally. But this is what I'm saying. Americans have to work. Gotta work to get it. We get nothing. I know of foreigners getting beds, getting braces for their legs, getting breathing machines, getting food, getting medication. People, can someone comment to me? Help me out, y'all. What is it that these people have done for this country? Nothing more. You mean to say this is really boiled down to that? Nothing more than we want them here to vote so the Democrats can stay in power. Let's wake up, people. Stop fighting for this. The country is $38 trillion in debt. Now you see where the money coming from? Like he said, y'all mad at Elon because he's bringing it up, and it's basically the Democrats running out there, jumping up and down because their money pots are destroyed. Their Democrats have got their uncle, their nieces, their daughters, their sons, all in the pot, making millions of dollars. And you talk about being prejudiced, a lot of them are black, so let's get out of here with that. Tons of them are. And they're just taking and taking. Let's look at this one. Notice it says, wake up, America. Wake up.
Intended that or not.
Look at this graph showing the explosion in this program. This is the amount of money the state has paid in Medicaid claims to autism treatment providers using your tax dollars. You can see in 2017, not that much, just more than $1 million. But you see the gradual growth here. In 2021, more than $80 million. But look at last year, more than $220 million paid out in claims with a grand total of just shy of $700 million. This is what state investigators are now looking at, these soaring costs, and questioning how many providers are doing real work.
Federal prosecutors say Minnesota is grappling with one of the biggest welfare fraud waves in U.S. history, and now counterterrorism officials warn some of that money is likely ending up in the pockets of Al-Shabaab, an al-Qaeda-linked terror group operating out of Somalia. Is the biggest funder of Al-Shabaab, the al-Qaeda-linked terror group in Somalia, actually the Minnesota taxpayer? A federal investigator says yes. An alarming claim first reported by City Journal, which spoke with multiple former federal agents. The U.S. Attorney's Office has charged dozens of defendants across multiple schemes, including housing aid fraud, pandemic child nutrition fraud, and false billing for autism therapy. In total, prosecutors say these schemes have cost Minnesota taxpayers billions of dollars.
Still, there are people that legitimately could use those resources that are not getting those resources. It's past criminal.
Minnesota is home to one of the country's largest Somali communities. Former state fraud investigator Keish Magan, himself a Somali American, wrote last year that it's uncomfortable and true that nearly all defendants in these major fraud cases come from that community.
They have taken advantage of the most generous country in the world and one of the most generous states in that country.
And according to City Journal, some of the stolen money was sent overseas through informal cash transfer networks. Investigators say once that cash arrived in Somalia, Al-Shabaab took a cut, whether the sender intended that or not.
Look at this graph showing the explosion in this program.
Brothers Brothers and sisters, community, this is why I say I tend to run over the time. I'm trying to give you guys shorter segments. Tell me if you like the long ones or the short ones. I know people are busy, but there's so much going on that I want to relate to you guys. And a lot of times I set it up for 15, 20 minutes. I go 30. But I would appreciate it if you look at the channel all the way through, because it's important what we're saying. And you need to know about these things. Let's look at this note right quick. And let's get an idea. And you can look at, even the Somalian senator said that it's alarming that it is these people who are doing this. And Tim Walz, this is in his city. And he wants to be governor. He gets his paycheck. What a coward to let things like this happen to the American people. And I really think President Trump and any Democratic judge that gets in the way and covers for these people, Supreme Court should pass it where he goes to jail too. Enough with the judges. This is sad, people. And we're being made a mockery of this, and those same guys that come over here, AK-47s, MR-15s, everything else, and use them on us, and we bought them for them. Same thing as George Soros is doing. Supply and demand. Not only working on other countries, but doing his best to destroy America. And it's not the Republicans who are destroying democracy. Not at all. It's the Democrats who are doing it. Let's look at this right quick.
Dollars in fraud in Minnesota to Tim Walz now. There have now been 77 people arrested, indicted. They're all guilty. They're all going to go to jail. And now they're trying to figure out, like, who the higher up knows, and Ilhan Omar know. Who in Minnesota, this is crazy, the Feeding Our Future program. They literally created all of these fake businesses and said they were feeding children, saying they were feeding families over the last 5 years, and none of it was true. They were putting this money into their own accounts, a lot of them sending it to other countries. By the way, this is why, if you look what's going on in Minnesota, now they're going to be deporting a lot of illegal immigrants, people there that have overstayed their visa, people that are doing these types of crimes. Think about this, $300 million, taxpayer dollars. Now this is another reason why Tim Walz was just ranked as one of the worst governors in the country, right behind Gavin Newsom at number one, being the worst, like the least liked, not trustworthy. Think about this. If you're leading a state and there's that much fraud, corruption, illegal immigrants, all this stuff, like, of course you had to have some idea of what was going on. So now 77 people arrested, over $300 million, not $10 million, $300 million. And by the way, this is all money that was needed for real people in that state. This is absolutely wild. I'm glad they're investigating for what's going on. What's your take on this? Are you surprised? I'm getting Tim Walz, like, he knew what was going on. What do you think about this? Make sure to follow button so we see each other again in this part of the ongoing series, and I'll talk to you soon.
It says it for itself, people. I'm in full accordance with what he's saying. 300 million and counting. And if we hadn't investigated, like he said, we'd never found out. And this ragtop, I don't know why they don't investigate it. This ragtop, no good woman married a brother to get into the United States. Her brother. How low and scummy they are. But let's get back to this and look at this.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive.
But speaking of disasters, let's talk about Hamas caucus member and Somali supremacist Ilhan Omar. Here she is. There's been a lot of problems with the local Somali neighborhood in Minnesota. We'll get to that in just a second. But here she is talking about the importance of Somalis as it pertains to the fabric of America.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive. Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation. So not only are we not going anywhere, we are not going to allow anybody to make us feel less Minnesotan or less American.
Okay, first off, look, obviously the truth is that are there individual Somalis who are perfectly great people who love America and everything else? Yes. Is she one of them? And are the people that love her those types of people? No, they're not. And by the way, what's been going on with the Somali community in Minnesota right now? Listen to this from the New York Post. We should have covered the story in a bigger way, but it's a crazy scandal that's coming out of Minnesota right now. Somali terror group Al-Shabaab taking a cut of millions in stolen Minnesota taxpayer money from welfare fraud scheme. This is a huge, huge problem that is now coming out of Minnesota. And we know that they are campaigning in Somali. Ilhan Omar is talking about how the real country she loves is Somalia, and she'd be happy to be kicked out of America and everything else. And of course, what does she say about those of us who vote a different way? Take a look.
So we are sick and tired of the president waking up one day and deciding to put forth falsehoods and demonize whole communities, while the ignorant people that support him then take the lies that he's spreading and use it as a fact.
Takes a lot, people. The ignorant people that support him, they're adding to America. They're adding to it, all right, and subtracting to the tune of $300 billion. And she wants to go. She says already she wants to have her kids there. She don't want them here in America. Why haven't we gotten her out of there? Oh, that's right. Excuse me. Congress fought for her to stay here. That's right. How stupid of me. I'm lost for words. We are fighting for people that don't even care nothing about us. And since they're coming down on her, Trump is, Kash Patel, Joe Bonagino, she's full of tears and she's trying to be remorseful. And she's raving mad because that money is, Trump stopped it immediately. Kudos to Trump. There's no more sending money out of here. No more autism. And they've ruined it for the kids that do have it until they can get it straightened out. I got another one here I want y'all to look at. And I'm going to leave it with y'all guys on this one. And you guys figure it out. Please give me some comments on this, y'all. Sign up to the channel because we're getting deep into things. Not monetized yet, but we're trying to bring you every bit of news that's important and happening. All right, let's check it out.
Program of Minnesota. These funds were designated to autism, addicts, seniors, and those that needed help with housing. Word on the street, this program was ran loosely. Somali children are overly diagnosed with autism. They are enrolled in expensive social services programs, and then these inflated autism claims are submitted to Medicaid. I would say this is unbelievable, But this is happening in California as well. Within 4 years, the HSS program of Minnesota has increased from $3 million to $400 million.
Ilhan Omar is big mad. She's not talking with all that arrogance today.
The largest welfare fraud scandal in all of America's history has happened in her district, Minnesota. So during that Democratic shutdown, the Republicans were working. Allegedly, the Somali community funneled fraudulent autism claims back to Somalia that goes into the accounts of Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda terrorist group. So President Trump terminates the temporary migrant status for all Somalians. So let's talk about it. Allegedly, the Somalians found a way to exploit the HSS program of Minnesota. These funds were designated to autism, addicts, seniors, and those that needed help with housing. Word on the street, this program was ran loosely. Somali children are overly diagnosed with...
Okay. I've been getting comments in here. Like she said, it's going on in California. It's going on in Florida, New York. I think this is one of the biggest scams, thanks to Elon for getting down on it. We knew that Medicare was losing money right and left. This is crazy. And this is just one state that's doing that. So, you know, California is 4 times Minnesota's size. Old Newsom up there, you know, slick hair. He's Nancy Pelosi's little twin cousin. The hand movement guy, both of him and Nancy. You know he's raking us over the coals. And you know, Modani, how crooked he is. As soon as he left the White House, he started talking that smack again. He's going to contribute to them greatly. And these are going to be the people that's going to try and overrun America. Really are. Scaring the cities, progressively taking over the cities, putting them in pressure. If they go from New York, California, Florida, all the big cities, it's not going to be hundreds of thousands of them. It's going to be millions of them. We got a fight on our hands. Leave a comment in here, people. And this is Stealth Community. We bring you the news every day. I'm going to try and load you up with it. Please like and share and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you tomorrow.